This week I managed to hit an amazing 11 million gold an hour. Enchanting was really popping off on this reset day. There's a problem here though, and it's one that you guys have repeated over and over in the comment section. CraftSim is telling me that I'm making thousands of gold loss on most of these. Barely any of these are simming at any sort of profit. Now I can assure you I've made millions of gold in profit here, and that's what this video is about. I'm going to show you exactly how I set this up and explain why I'm making a profit. Now obviously I did this with enchanting this time, but what we talk about in this video can be applied to making any profession profitable. Seeing as I concentrated on enchanting this week, we will also look at the best enchanting specs for making enchants as well later on in the video. First things first, this video assumes that you're in the same ballpark as your competition when it comes to knowledge points, profession gear and skill level. I find that being a little bit behind you can get away with, but if you're 40 to 50 knowledge points behind or starting a profession fresh in 2023, then it's going to be really difficult for you to compete in competitive markets. Just to be clear here, I don't think it's hopeless starting new professions or being that far behind. You just have to pick your targets correctly. You're not going to be able to compete doing the same thing as everybody else. If you've done everything from week 1 and just farmed a few dragon shards less than your competition, then this is going to be completely viable. I have quite a lot of knowledge on my enchanter, but his profession gear is not great. So I know, for example, I'm a couple % behind on my inspiration compared to some others, but we can get around that much of a difference. Let's go back to those calculations we saw at the start of the video. I would strongly suggest using an add-on like CraftSim unless you're extremely confident in your maths, because it's not as simple at all when you're talking about all the factors such as inspiration procs, multi-crafting and resourcefulness. I imagine most people trying to work this out manually will be miles off the correct values, so it's important to know exactly what's going on. Now whether you are using an add-on like CraftSim or calculating it yourself, the calculation goes somewhere along the lines of comparing the current material prices to the value of your expected crafting outcome. So if it works out that your average crafting cost is 1,900 gold and the current auction house price is 2,000 gold, then you have 100 gold profit before the auction house cut. Now this is an average, so sometimes you're going to make a loss and sometimes you're going to make a lot more than this, but if these numbers stay the same, if you do this over a long enough period of time, then you will make gold. Now you could log into WoW, fire up CraftSim, and yeah, of course, just like we saw with the enchanting profession, everything is crafting at a loss or an extremely small profit. The example I'm going to use here is what I did with the weapon enchants in particular to make them profitable, but you can use this for any profession or craft really. Let's look at the glowing Titan orbs in particular. We use 3 of these in every weapon enchant. This website is Oribos Exchange. I'll link it in the description below. The blue line is the price and the red line is the amount available on the auction house. It's showing us the pricing data for the glowing Titan orb for the last 14 days. Now what you tend to find is as the price of the materials in something go up and down, so does the price of what you're crafting. You can see here that if we overlay the price of one of the weapon enchants with the price of the glowing Titan orbs, that generally as with the price of one changes, so does the other. That makes sense. For example, if the price of the orbs go down, then people can sell the enchants cheaper. They could also sell them at the same price and make more profit, but you know, someone has to be the undercutter, don't they? This can also make it harder to make a profit, as the price of something will naturally fluctuate with the cost to produce it. The price of the orbs on the day I did all this hovered at around 9,000 gold each. That means that when I look at CraftSim or do the calculation myself, it's going to cost me 3 Titan orbs times 9,000 gold, so the cost of these is 27,000 gold per enchant just for the orbs alone. But I didn't buy my Titan orbs on the day. I bought my Titan orbs at the weekend. You can see here on the graph at the weekend the price went below 7,000 gold, and this was the cheapest it had been at any point in the last 2 weeks. I bought up loads of them, and suddenly the maths on my profit and loss for my enchants looks very different. Now instead of spending 27,000 gold worth of orbs per enchant, I'm actually spending around 21,000 gold. Suddenly something that was selling for a tiny profit or at a loss becomes really profitable. You can repeat this process with all the materials in anything you craft with any profession, and this is one of the main ways that people are selling and making millions of gold from professions when it looks like they should be making a loss. You're going to buy the materials when the prices are at their absolute lowest, so this can be at the weekends, on Mondays in particular, and you're going to sell them when they're at the highest, usually on reset days. Now, there is absolutely no guarantee what will happen with prices, so there is always some degree of risk here. For example, when I bought those orbs for 7,000 gold, they could have carried on dropping in price. That being said, I did feel fairly safe on this occasion because it was a 2-week low in price. One thing to consider here is that, generally speaking, prices will slowly drop over time, so just make sure you're picking up materials up cheap and not holding on to them for too long. A few days is fine, but once it gets to a week, I start getting a bit edgy to move stuff on. If you want to be competitive in professions and making a profit, then you need to be super aware of the prices and materials. You can't just log in 2 hours before raid and expect to be able to make potions for a profit, because it's just not going to work. You can use the website to see the highs and the lows of material prices, so you know that you're buying at the best possible times. If you don't want to use the website, you could just use the favourite function in the game. Now, I did promise a look at my enchanting build I used to do all of this. Like with my alchemy video, do not copy my profession build exactly, just listen to what I'm saying. This is not some secret uber build. There are things here that I've taken that I would not suggest anybody picking up. First things first, we can't get rank 3 enchants without an inspiration proc, so inspired devotion is absolutely essential. This makes it so that we'll get rank 3 whenever we get an inspire proc, as long as we can guarantee a rank 2 craft. The next priority is to grab as much plus skill as you need to be able to make these a rank 2, so that we can get the rank 3 procs, because that is where the real gold making is. You don't want to just be grabbing random plus skill all over the place. You can work towards any recipes in the specialisation tree that you want to unlock and hit any nodes that give bonuses to stats to whatever enchants you want to craft. What you've seen me do here for testing, I would generally not suggest doing. I've split up between weapon enchants and general enchants, and this has diluted my knowledge points to some degree. Your general goal should be to unlock the recipes you want to be able to proc rank 3s, and then just hit as many plus stats as possible. If you start diluting your points by putting things all over the place like I have, you're not going to get all the stat bonuses you possibly could for crafting that one thing. It's much better to craft one thing really well than be a novice at crafting everything. Let's say I want to do weapon enchants then. In enchantment at the top, you can see here we have bonuses to inspiration and resourcefulness that apply to all enchant crafting throughout this specialisation tree, so points in here help my weapon enchants in the long term. We can then unlock primal, and throughout this specialisation, once again we have stat bonuses to our weapon enchants. I actually don't like the idea of putting points in the individual weapon specialisations, as there is no stat bonuses here, just bonus skill, and we can get that everywhere in enchanting. On the other side of the specialisation, all these bonuses only apply to crafting non-weapon enchants, so we don't care about anything over here if we are focusing on a weapon enchanting build. The next place we can look for some bonus stats is over in the rod specialisation. Resourceful Writ is probably the most obvious case of an example of loads of stats that are going to apply to whatever specialisation you want to run. Another place you can pick up some stats is in Inside the Blue, where we have a few nodes that give a small amount of inspiration and resourcefulness. Primal Extraction is also a good place to head, as there is a total of 20 inspiration for all enchants in this specialisation. Generally speaking, 1 point in inspiration is worth about 10 points of resourcefulness for an enchanting inspiration build. Taking that into consideration, I should probably have come here and done Primal Extraction before I did Resourceful Writ. That is basically it. You just need to hit as much inspiration and resourceful bonuses that I have pointed out as you can once you have maxed out Inspired Devotion and you can proc those rank 3s. This will make you as competitive as possible, and hopefully combined with the other tip in this video, making it so that you can pick up your materials so much cheaper, will help you make some really solid gold. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.